How's it going, guys and geeks? Welcome to Geekritique. My name is Dakota, and today we'll be diving deep into the MCU timeline as we explore the chronological placement and ramifications of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This film's timeline may at first seem simple, but is made exceptionally more complicated by comments made by the director and the seemingly variable age of Cassie Lang throughout her many appearances. We're going to break down all that and more to determine where Quantumania fits best on the MCU timeline. We've got huge plans for the channel for the rest of 2023, including our next big MCU Timeline version 8.0, so please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell icon to be notified when new videos drop. I'd also like to know your thoughts about Quantumania. Did you enjoy it? Does it fit best in 2025 or 2026? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. It seems like every other day I have someone asking me when I plan to make a video on Quantumania, and the time is finally here. Well, actually, I did make a YouTube short on the topic not too long ago, but not many of you actually saw it. In that short, I postulated that the timeline placement was fairly simple. Because we see Scott reading his book, Look Out for the Little Guy, at a local bookstore, and there's a clear Easter egg in Wakanda Forever claiming Scott Lang was continuing his book tour, the natural conclusion we came to was that these two films sat close to one another on the MCU timeline. We broke down how Wakanda Forever is a May 2025 film in this video, so a spring or summer 2025 placement for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was the most likely candidate. As it turns out, the one and only featured date in Quantumania claims that the book reading at the City Lights bookstore was on July 24th. And being only a few months off from May, that worked perfectly for me. So, in that YouTube short, we placed the majority of Quantumania on July 24th, 2025. That, of course, was a quick and easy video I made shortly after the film came out, and while I don't regret it, I do lament that I had to come back to this film after it hit Disney+. As it happens, Disney Plus puts the film after Werewolf by Night and the Guardians Holiday Special, placing it firmly into the 2026 realm on their timeline. Now, I'm not averse to updating my timeline if new information is presented to me. I'm fully aware that I'm just one guy making timelines for huge properties, and because of that I make mistakes and have to correct them on occasion. My big Avatar timeline, for instance, has 2 or 3 mistakes that I had to address in a subsequent video. I've updated my MCU timeline in the past for titles like Moon Knight and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness when I feel enough evidence pushes my previous placements out of alignment. But does Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania fall into that category? In a way, I think it might. Disney Plus, while not always having the strongest grasp on the MCU timeline, is a fantastic tool for us to gauge how others perceive where titles fit in a larger universe. So let's determine if a July 2026 placement works better than our previously established July 2025 placement. Let's first make the case for a July 2025 placement. We've already determined that the film connects to Wakanda Forever through an on-screen Easter egg, but what else is there? Prior to the release of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, producer Nate Moore claimed that the film was roughly concurrent to Thor: Love and Thunder and Quantumania.
I think it probably happens potentially concurrent with Thor, and almost concurrent with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
While this does add a layer of proof toward the 2025 placement, it's far from concrete, as we know Wakanda Forever and Love and Thunder are not concurrent films, and Nate Moore doesn't have the strongest grasp on the MCU timeline to begin with.
Oh boy, in sort of a years?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell you. I could tell you where it sits in the other movies, because we try to do it somewhat chronologically, but if you asked me, if you held a gun to my head, honestly, I probably would get it wrong.
So I think it's okay to disregard this quote as strong evidence. A quote that we can't easily disregard, however, is Peyton Reed's comments on Cassie Lang's age.
To us, after the events of Endgame and Infinity War and Endgame, it really, it occurred to us, obviously, well, Cassie's going to be 18 in this movie. That's great. The whole theme is time.
The director has since gone on record several times reiterating that Cassie Lang is indeed 18 years old in Quantumania, despite the film never verbally addressing that claim. But is it possible for Cassie to be 18 years of age in 2025? To determine this, we need to go back in time and figure out how old she was in each of her film appearances so that we can make sense of her sudden adulthood. We know that with Cassie's first appearance in Ant-Man, which occurred in 2015, she celebrates her birthday.
Peanuts! Oh, happy birthday!
According to Peyton Reed, Cassie is 6 years old in this film. Whether that means she's 6 years old before or after her birthday isn't super clear. But considering her first appearance is on her birthday, it's safe to assume she's 6 after her party. Quantumania does help quantify this.
Dad, a guy dressed like a bee tried to kill me in my room when I was 6.
Let's pull up this visual representation of Cassie's requisite age over the course of the Ant-Man trilogy to keep track of all this information. With Ant-Man, which I posit occurs between July through October of 2015, Cassie is said to be 6 years old. So far so good. How about her age in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which occurs short weeks before Avengers Infinity War in spring 2018? Scott claims that she's now 10 years old.
Hey, you try and entertain a 10-year-old when you can't leave the house.
Cassie doesn't try to correct him, but if she turned 6 in Ant-Man's runtime, there's no possible way she would now be 4 years older in a sequel that's just short of 3 years later than the first film. Now, Peyton Reed did claim that she's 9 years old in this movie, but considering the mishandling of her age thus far, I tend to believe the film holds more weight than the director on this point. As it stands, there's no possible way for Cassie Lang to have just turned 6 in Ant-Man and to also be either 9 or 10 in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Let's move along. As I mentioned earlier, the director later claimed that Cassie is 18 in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'll be honest, I ignored this information when I first placed Quantumania, and chalked this up to her fake birthday party at the end of the film being prior to her 18th birthday.
It's not my birthday.
I know, but I missed a few.
Before we actually dive into the ramifications of Cassie potentially being 18 in this film, let's dissect that fake birthday a bit. The primary events of Quantumania occur on July 24th, as per the date of the book reading. This means this fake birthday is most likely occurring shortly after their jaunt in the quantum realm at the tail end of July or early August. If her birthday recently preceded the events of Quantumania, there would be no reason for Scott to initiate another party so soon after. If her birthday was happening shortly after the events of Quantumania, I feel like Scott would have simply waited until the actual date came.
Happy fake birthday, Cassie.
So most likely her actual birthday is at least some months away, perhaps closer to the month of October, which fits with the ending of the first Ant-Man film, which features October dates. But will she turn 18 or 19 on her next actual birth date? Let's go back to the fact that the director claims she's now 18 in Quantumania.
Well, Cassie's going to be 18 in this movie.
If Cassie turned 6 in the first Ant-Man and was 18 by the time of Quantumania, then the film would have to fit in July 2028. That's way too late. But if Cassie were 10 during Ant-Man and the Wasp, then she would be 18 in 2026. Before we continue, is there any actual evidence that places Cassie's age at 18 in Quantumania? Well, they don't outright say it in the film, but there is actually some proof. You see, in the state of California, to be thrown in prison with other adult inmates, you would need to be considered a legal adult yourself. If Cassie were only 17, she wouldn't have been detained and they would have brought her straight back home, unless some truly offensive crime was committed and then they would throw her in juvenile detention. The fact that they threw her in an adult prison means that she has to be at least 18 at this point. And we know she's been 18 for some time now, as this isn't her first time in jail.
So, Cassie, did you make any new friends in the slammer this time?
So despite any internal logic, despite any potential connections to other films, and despite the relative present in the MCU being 2025 at the time of release, this film necessitates that Cassie Lang had to be 18 years of age, well before the start of Quantumania. Which means the next best fit for Quantumania is in July 2026, not 2025. So by placing Quantumania in 2026 on this visual timeline, take a second to note how impossible Cassie's age really is. If she were 18 in Quantumania, she would have turned 8 in Ant-Man, not 6. But the one thing that does work quite well is that by placing Quantumania in 2026, then Cassie would have also been 10 during Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is something that's actually stated in that film. The only way to make sense of Cassie's line in Quantumania about her being 6 during Yellowjacket's attack is that she simply over-exaggerated how young she was at the time, or couldn't recall how much time had truly passed. To be honest with you, I think this film was fully intended to fit into the 2025 selections, to fit better alongside Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, but that became impossible because the plot required that Cassie be bailed out of prison. Cassie's variable age throughout all these films is a classic case of MCU Timeline mismanagement. Because of this, I've decided to move Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania from July 2025 to July 2026 on my MCU timeline. This means that Cassie's new adjusted date of birth is somewhere around late September, early October 2007. The entirety of the events in the quantum realm occur on July 24th, 2026.
A lot has happened today.
Patreon members will get an exclusive, updated version of our visual timeline, which also includes our Secret Invasion placement and a shifted time period for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'll be discussing all things Kang in a future video as we learn more about him and his many multiversal variants with Loki Season 2 right around the corner.
They're beginning to touch the multiverse. And if we let them, they will take everything we've built.
If you don't want to miss that, please like this video, subscribe for more, and click that bell icon. What do you think? Did you enjoy Quantumania? Does it fit well in 2026, or should I have kept it in 2025? Let me know your thoughts down below. You can check out my recent Secret Invasion timeline breakdown right now. Does Secret Invasion fit better in 2025 or 2026? Find out by clicking that video. Thanks guys, have a good one.